creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
You know that for The Godfather, Francis Ford Coppola shot the wedding scene guerrilla style? This basically meant that he had the cast freely act out and improvise in the background while he shot specific vignettes amongst that action. In playing Luca Brosky, Lenny Montana was a professional wrestler in real life and was so nervous that he couldn't pull off delivering his lines, and they didn't get a single good take out of him. So they went with it, and instead of reshooting his scene near the beginning, they added a scene of him nervously rehearsing his lines at the wedding before meeting with the Godfather. The Corleone household was a real residence on Staten Island. It sold in 2014 for almost $3 million, and as of 2022, it could be rented on Airbnb. The cat that Corleone holds at the beginning of the movie was a stray that showed up on set one day. Coppola took it and gave it to Marlon Brando, telling him to improvise with it. It purred so loud in his lap that it gave them problems with the audio. Even though Coppola and Brando were constantly on the verge of being fired by Paramount, the movie was a towering success. Oh, and the horse head was real. They got it from a dog food company. If you love movies like I do, follow.
Luca Brasi was also a real mobster. Man, I love Godfather's movie.
Have you seen the mukbanger thing?
What mukbanger thing?
The girl that forgot to edit herself out spitting the food, and like she exposed every mukbanger in the
Wait,
world.
what? She what?
So there was this girl, right? I think she was Asian. Have you seen it?
So she ate the food and just spit it on?
Look, and so after every take, a lot of mukbangers have been getting exposed because obviously they're eating so much food and they're not getting big.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this girl specifically, she started eating a bunch of like dumplings, right? Hella sauce. She puts a bunch of them in her mouth. She forgot to edit this out. She goes, and then she continues to eat. So that's what mukbangers do. They eat,
And they just spit it out and just edit it.
yeah, and then no, then they go for more.
Oh, what the
Yeah,
heck?
you wanna see it? This shit is so weird. Hold
That's
on.
such a waste of food then.
It's not though, but so it is a waste. But like in terms of money, you're not losing money.
I guess so.
A lie before the world is fucked. Here. So like she forgets to edit this out.
Ew.
Yeah, she continues.
Boom.
Same shit. She does that thing.
Oh my god.
Bro, mukbangers just make us hungry and they just spit it? Oh man, that's crazy.
So this cowboy was riding his horse to Walmart one day when he suddenly saw a thief stealing someone's bike. And safe to say, what happened next just blew this thief's mind. You see, since Robert Borbo was one of the last real cowboys left, he just spent his days lassoing cows and riding his horse. But as he was just trying to shop at Walmart one day, that's when he randomly heard a woman screaming, "Stop him, he stole my bike." When Robert turned around, he saw the thief speeding away in the distance with the woman frantically chasing him. But since Robert knew that she would never be able to catch this thief, he just decided to start chasing the guy himself with his horse and dogs. Despite only being armed with a lasso, Robert just swung it and somehow caught the guy like he would normally catch his cows. This thief was so shocked that he just asked, "What are you doing, man? You got a badge?" But since Robert obviously didn't, he just quickly called the cops.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
We got a guy just stole a bike here at Walmart. I got him roped and tied to the street.
What?
Although these cops were just as flabbergasted, they soon arrested the thief and thanked Robert for his heroism. When Robert was questioned about the encounter, he just said it was the right thing to do before tipping his hat and riding away.
This is how I imagined Texas when I was a kid.
For weeks we have followed it, a shadow in the abyss, a fin slicing through the waves like a monolith adrift in time. My team and I, exhausted and uncertain, have charted its path, watching, waiting. It does not flee. It does not acknowledge us. It simply moves as if guided by a force older than reason itself. When we first glimpsed it near the ice shelf, we thought it a trick of the light, an illusion born from our weary minds. But now, under the relentless sun, there is no doubt. It is real. It is far larger than we ever imagined. A relic from a time when giants ruled the deep. Our instruments falter, the readings make no sense, and yet it moves with purpose, as if following a path only it can see. We do not know if it sees us, if it knows we are here, but a feeling lingers in my gut, a quiet, creeping certainty. We are not tracking it, it is leading us somewhere.
That is why AI is more dangerous than humans. And you know, if this is real, use underwater camera. You know, China is also looking into making deals with Canada and Mexico. You know that, right? Ooh. I feel destroyed inside when I see old people still doing hard work just to stay alive. And he looks so exhausted.
A statue of Jesus Christ is being put up right now at the White House. This is unbelievable. So for those of you who say that President Trump is not for Jesus or God is not on his side, then I want you to watch this video right here and tell me what you think. But this is amazing. Check this out.
Somebody said to me the other day, "You're the most famous person in the world by far." I said, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." They said, "Yes, you are." I said, "No." They said, "Who's more famous?" I said, "Jesus Christ." I'm not taking any chances. I'm not going to have an argument. Hey, I'm not having any arguments. Jesus Christ.
So tell me, what president ever put up a statue of Jesus at the White House? None. None. So if you like this video, make sure that you subscribe and comment below. Jesus is King, because that's the truth.
Jesus Christ is King of Kings. So cute. Please don't separate them. How many inside? Oh, just one? Oh, two? Oh God. Oh, the oil is protecting them. Yeah, get the oil too, please. Yes.
Tomorrow morning, after you finish brushing your teeth, put the toothbrush down, and now I want you to do the high five habit, and this is how you do it. First, you look in the mirror. For many of you, that's going to be the hardest part. 50% of men and women, based on our research, cannot or will not look themselves in the mirror because they do not like the person they see.
Italy
Wow. I love the part where she told us the high five habit.
gave us pizza, pasta carbonara, and lasagna. The United States is known for cheeseburgers, barbecue ribs, and mac and cheese. France
yummy.
brought us croissants, coq au vin, and baguette. Japan perfected sushi, ramen, and tempura. Mexico is known for tacos,
Yes.
mole, and tamales. India introduced butter chicken, biryani, and masala dosa. China gave us dumplings, Peking duck, and hot pot. Thailand is known for pad thai, green curry, and tom yum. Spain introduced paella, churros, and tortilla española. Greece gave us moussaka, souvlaki, and spanakopita. Germany brought us bratwurst, pretzels, and sauerbraten. Brazil is known for feijoada, pão de queijo, and brigadeiros. Argentina gave us asado, empanadas,
Yummy.
and milanesa. Turkey is known for kebabs, baklava, and lamakun. South Korea made famous kimchi, bibimbap, and bulgogi. Vietnam brought us pho, banh mi, and spring rolls. The United Kingdom is known for fish and chips, shepherd's pie, and full English breakfast. Russia gave us borscht, beef stroganoff, and pelmeni. Sweden introduced meatballs, gravlax, and smorgasbord. Poland brought us pierogi, kielbasa, and bigos. Egypt introduced koshari, ful medames, and mashi.
Yum.
Lebanon introduced hummus, shawarma, and kibbeh. South Africa gave us bobotie, biltong, and bunny chow.
Bunny
Ethiopia
chow.
is known for injera, doro wat, and tibs. Australia brought us meat pies, pavlova,
Meat
and
pies.
Vegemite on toast. Indonesia is known for nasi goreng, satay,
Satay
and
and
rendang.
rendang. Here you
Philippines
go.
is known for adobo, lechon, and halo
Oh,
halo.
adobo, I love adobo.
Netherlands introduced stroopwafels, herring, and bitterballen. Portugal gave us pastéis de nata, bacalhau, and caldo verde. Cuba created ropa vieja, Cuban sandwiches, and tostones. Hungary brought us goulash, chimney cake, and chicken paprikash. Malaysia is known for nasi lemak, laksa, and char kway teow.
Ooh, damn.
Nigeria developed whole of rice, suya, and pounded yam. Colombia gave us arepas, bandeja paisa, and sancocho. Peru popularized ceviche, lomo
Ceviche.
saltado, and ají de gallina.
Ooh.
Morocco is known for tagine, couscous, and harira. Belgium brought us waffles, moules frites, and speculoos. Czech Republic gave us svichkova, trdelnik, and goulash. Ukraine introduced vareniki, holubitsi, and daruni. Iran gave us kebabs, tahdig, and fesenjan. Austria brought us Wiener Schnitzel, Sockertorte, and Apfelstrudel. Scotland created haggis, Scotch eggs, and shortbread. El Salvador introduced pupusas, yuca frita, and sopa de res. Singapore developed chili crab, Hainanese chicken rice, and laksa. Jamaica is known for jerk chicken, aki, and saltfish, and patties. Saudi Arabia is famous for kabsa, mutabak, and haris. Armenia introduced korovats, dolma, and ghapama.
What?
If you had to guess which recreational drug had the highest chance of actually causing you to develop permanent psychosis, what would you guess? The answer actually is cannabis, and this is why it's so scary, because I feel like friends, family, patients think that cannabis or weed is just like this harmless substance. Fortunately, I've seen many patients in the emergency room in the psychiatric clinic coming in presenting with paranoia, visual hallucinations, hearing voices,
Really?
all of these things because they were smoking weed. Now, sometimes it is temporary, but if patients have a predisposition or family history of psychosis, schizophrenia in the family, then they are actually at a higher likelihood of having this kind of psychosis permanently. So it can be very scary and serious. Though weed and cannabis is becoming normalized, that it actually does still come with risks, and to listen to your body and recognize if you start feeling abnormal or acting not like yourself.
Modern life is the psychosis.
Reese Witherspoon, billionaire now. Why? Because Reese Witherspoon, little sweet Susie Sunshine in Pink, basically took a book club and said to authors, I'll give you part of my platform for you to talk about your book because I'm lovely. It's free. You're going to sell a bunch of books. Tiny insignificant detail. I'd like the future rights to turn your book into a movie, and I'll pay you some sum, or I'll have a right of first refusal, aka I get the right to buy it before anybody else, and I'll pay you then for it. The author goes, amazing, Reese, of course, perfect. They come on, Reese basically A/B tests, so tests out which books do best, and depending on which books do best, Reese buys their movie rights and makes movies that create, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. But Reese doesn't tell that story.
Why did she make that sound so salty? Sounds like a great, idea for all involved. Oh. Bless their little paws. I hear they have very nice prison system in beautiful El Salvador.
Here's how to grow new brain cells and preserve memory and brain function. And here are 7 foods that help. Hi, I'm Dr. Shintani, MD, nutritionist trained at Harvard. My goal is to help you have great health and brain function up to 120 years.
Ooh.
We used to think you can't grow new brain cells once you're an adult. But research now shows that we actually can and do grow new brain cells even onto old age. This helps to ward off Alzheimer's and preserve and possibly improve memory and brain function. The key substance is BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factors that stimulate brain cell growth. Here are the top 7 foods and nutrients that help produce BDNF. Number 1, blueberries provide anthocyanins.
I like
2,
blueberries.
red grapes provide resveratrol. 3, green tea provides EGCG. 4, coffee provides chlorogenic acid.
Ooh, wow.
Number 5, turmeric provides curcumin. Number 6, chia seeds, flax seeds, and fatty fish provides omega-3 fats. And number 7, dark chocolate provides polyphenols and procyanidins. For a list of 10 supplements that help the brain, get my free ebook, Health Secrets, at peacediet.org. I'm Dr. Shintani for your...
Practice crosswords too as activity and keep yourself active and busy.
I see dead people.
This is crazy, man. They're not like us. You know, when Will Ferrell's parodies your song, you are next level.
Aaron Kosminski was a 23-year-old immigrant who'd come to London years earlier from Poland. His occupation? Can't make it up. Barber. Person of interest was not a term back then, but it really would have applied, because police looked at Kosminski. They just never had enough evidence to arrest him. They really never had much evidence, period. Fingerprints weren't even an acceptable crime-fighting tool in Britain until almost a decade later. That is how cold this case is. But that uncertainty about Aaron Kosminski did not stop Madame Tussauds from immortalizing him in wax and including him in the Jack the Ripper Chamber of Horrors. But beyond that, and certainly before that, there was nothing definitively tying him to the Ripper until now. And what is that evidence, you ask? I thought you would. It seems the Ripper's 4th victim, Catherine Eddowes, was wearing a shawl the night that she and one other victim were killed just minutes apart, killed and mutilated. The shawl was blood-stained, of course, and somehow in 2007 it was put up for auction. The winning bidder was an author and Jack the Ripper scholar named Russell Edwards, and Edwards went right to work testing the century-old shawl for DNA. And the results? A 100% match to Aaron Kosminski.
So wait, how did they match an unknown sample to someone's that's been dead? Did I miss something?
How do you know if you have this living inside your body? Well, you're not going to like the answer to this. Here I'm quoting the work of Dr. Schultz and Dr. Christopher, 2 well-established naturopaths. And what they say is, you won't know. And most people don't know. And you can't go and do a colonoscopy to try and find out, because you won't find it. Or more often than not, you won't find it. This is because mucoid plaque doesn't live inside the gut. It lives outside the gut. This is what Dr. Christopher 50 years ago called diverticula, which are pockets of congealed waste that sit outside of the colon. They protrude outside of the colon wall. And he predicted 70 to 80% of the population or more having diverticulosis. He predicted this for the future. This was 50 years ago. And we form these pockets when we live an unnatural lifestyle and have an unnatural diet. And anything that has potentially disrupted the gut microbiome, such as vaccines and things like glyphosate, these things are going to leave you vulnerable for mucoid plaque to form. In general, if you have slow bowel movements, slow transition time, if you're not evacuating fully, if you're constipated, if you're bloated, if you have digestive pain and sensitivity, all of these are signs that you have mucoid plaque. And my priority, if I was you, is to do a mucoid plaque flush.
Oh, how did you do that? New fear unlocked. Oh, the horse understands.
It's a very
Who is crying here?
creepy video. Like when I show y'all gonna be like, what is this? So it's called Padre Oye Gritos en Misa.
El Señor esté con ustedes y con tu espíritu.
Fuck that, bro. The priest didn't even react because he's probably like, nah, this is some demon shit trying to test me to stop mass or whatever.
I wouldn't go the paranormal route. Maybe it was the actual like woman like.
That sounded like a woman too.
Yeah.
Like literally right after that, they ended up like cutting the mass short because they were like, yeah, let's stop this. Maybe they got scared. They probably thought it was like you said, somebody being crazy or something.
Yeah.
Maybe others thought it was some paranormal.
Imagine being in church and then you hear that.
I know we talked about it in the IE and Friends podcast. Churches are actually scary, which they shouldn't be scary, but at night they give like this little eerie feeling.
I think what it is because of scary movies that we've seen and how basically they play on the stuff that we feel most.
Someone locked in the basement. I watched too many movies. I would have at least tried to walk through it. How about Listerine mouthwash and versus bacteria?
This town is the best kept secret in luxury. This is where Louis Vuitton, Jacquemus or Polène produce their bags. It's a little town in Spain known for luxury leather. The town is called Ubric, and back in the days if your brand did not produce there, it meant that you did not have a luxury brand. This tiny town lives and breathes craftsmanship. But during the 2008 financial crisis, brands abandoned Ubric for cheaper production in Asia. But now more and more brands are producing there again. So if you want to create your own designer bags, now you know where to produce them. Follow for more.
The very same people who failed little
Okay.
girls in towns like mine will punish those who try to speak out. I myself had the police show up at my door when I went on national TV to speak about grooming gangs, and when I said that it was still going on, and when I said that police were still turning a blind eye, the very next day West Mercia police showed up at my doorstep and tried to demand that I go down to the police station with them for an interview, because, quote unquote, when you go on TV to talk about grooming gangs, you should expect to hear from us. They tried to threaten me and intimidate me into silence and try to penalise me for exposing their failings. Another survivor, Sammy Woodhouse, 4 or 5 days ago had a call from South Yorkshire Police saying that she had to remove Twitter posts speaking about her story, her life experience as a victim of Pakistani Muslim child exploitation,
What?
because it was going to jeopardize a case and she could potentially be held in contempt of court. And sharing publicly available information that had been reported on the BBC and national news, they target anyone who dares to go against the established narrative.
The fact that the authorities would protect the criminals to uphold the, you know, the popular narrative is crazy.
I don't know if you heard the story that Ariana Grande was actually tormented by demons.
Ariana Grande?
Yeah, and this is a crazy story because in 2014,
Yeah.
she went to this cemetery, right? It's called Stull Cemetery,
Mhm.
right? And she went there in 2014.
Yeah.
And this cemetery is so haunted that the Pope himself won't even fly over it. Oh, shit. Like he'll tell his pilot to go around it, right? So while she was there, she already said she said this on a complex interview.
Yeah.
She was like, when I got there, I had this sick, overwhelming feeling, and it smelled like sulfur.
Oh, is that like the smell of?
When you smell sulfur, that means the D word
Yeah.
is present, right?
The D word.
Right away, she said, as soon as she got that feeling,
Yeah, yeah.
she said, "Oh, I did an apology." But right before she left, she took a picture of the cemetery, and in that picture, she sees distinct figures.
No.
Three faces of
Does she have? Is it?
of textbook demons.
Yo, what the fuck?
The rarest
Okay.
and most expensive stones on Earth.
1. Serendipite, 2 million per carat. So rare. Only a few people on the planet own one. Found in Sri Lanka. It's darker than the deepest ocean and more expensive than diamonds. 2. Blue garnet, 1.5 million per carat. This gem is like a real-life chameleon. In daylight, it's blue. But under artificial light, it turns purple. Only a handful exist in the world. 3. Red diamond, up to $5 million per carat. The rarest diamond on Earth. Only 30 have ever been found. And scientists still don't know what makes them red. Number 4, jadeite, 3 millions per carat.
Ooh, JD.
This isn't just jade, this is the
Oh,
purest
jade.
form. A single jadeite necklace sold for $27 million. Ancient emperors believed it had supernatural powers. 5, black opal, up to $10,000 per carat. Looks like it holds the entire galaxy inside. Found only in Australia. Its fiery colors make it one of the most mesmerizing gems on Earth.
I'm going to share with you an experiment that was conducted by the U.S. Army that actually solidifies Neville Goddard, the guy behind me, all of his teachings. This is a study, an experiment that scientists cannot explain. So this is a very, very powerful experiment that actually proves that your world is you pushed out, and that everything is connected, and that separation is an illusion, and then it backs up what consciousness and what we're living in is a virtual reality. This was an experiment that was conducted and reported in the journal Advances. Okay, so the Army performed experiments to determine precisely whether emotion and DNA connection continues following a separation. And if so, at what distances? Okay, so what they're going to do in this study is basically they get a human being and they take DNA out of his mouth to do a DNA sample, and they take the DNA into another room or even hundreds of miles away. They actually furthered this experiment and took his DNA hundreds of miles away from him. Okay, and monitored it electrically. They monitored and to see if his cells reacted in his body or out of his body the same way that the cells that are still in his body, and see if that connection still remains even though the DNA is outside of his body. Okay, so the researchers started by collecting a swab of tissue and DNA from the inside of a volunteer's mouth. This sample was isolated and taken to another room in the same building, where they began to investigate a phenomenon that modern scientists say shouldn't exist. So science is saying that this shouldn't happen. Okay, so if all science is true, then if you take the cells out of my body and you take them away from me, they shouldn't react to the things that I do here now in my body. So if you give me stimulating magazines right now, you take that DNA out of my mouth or out of my body, take it away from me, it should not react. Oh, that's what scientists are saying. It should not react, okay? But it does, and I'm going to share this. I'm going to keep sharing this, okay? In a specially designed chamber, the DNA was measured electrically to see if it responded to the emotions of the person it came from. The donor, who was in another room several hundred feet away, they actually did this with actually several hundred miles away too, and I'll share that with you guys too. In his room, the subject was shown a series of video images designed to create genuine states of emotion inside of his body. This material ranged from graphic wartime footage to erotic images to comedy. The idea was for the donor to experience a spectrum of real emotions within a brief period of time. While he was doing so, in another room, his DNA was measured. It was being monitored. His DNA in another room was being monitored while he was watching these video clips and these video images. Okay, so they were watching in another room. His DNA was being measured for its response. When the donor experienced emotional peaks and dips, his cells and DNA showed a powerful electrical response at the same instant time. So his cells in the other room were actually reacting as if they were still in his body.
Explain soul ties. Be careful who you sleep with, folks. Oh! This reminds me of Hereditary.
This ancient temple pillar rotates effortlessly, showcasing advanced engineering skills from the past. How did ancient builders create this spinning artifact with such perfect balance? Their secret engineering still remains a mystery. Look at this artifact, just breathtaking. It's not plastic, it's not rubber, it's pure rock. They cut a whole mountains. What we were told they only had axe and chisel. Really? Why can't we build this now? Instead, we have all the latest machines and technology. They did all this to let people in future know they also existed. I don't understand this. I believe that all this was made with magic, as past people had the powers to change anything with magic. What do you think? Just look at this masterpiece, you will be surprised.
Wow.
We don't have satisfying answers to all this. The archaeologists, the historians, nobody knows really how and why these were built.
Scientists say chisel and hammers? Hey, okay.
Came to the to this house, and they were about to kill a baby. And he killed her. They had killed tens of people. He said, "Oh, wait, what are we doing? Why are we going to kill that baby?" And they told him, because the beast asked for a baby, so we have to give him a baby. He's in prison because he's a killer, but he left the gang because he couldn't tolerate what he was seeing.
So human sacrifice was a part.
Well, in the United States a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago, I don't remember exactly, I saw the news that they were going to kill a young girl.
Guys, that is the president of El Salvador telling you that this stuff is real. You don't get a higher credential than that. He's telling you what's going on, and still people refuse to listen. I wish it wasn't true, I wish it was an urban legend, but this is what is going on. And don't ever think that it just happens in less economically developed countries. It doesn't. It happens in the UK, it happens in Europe, it happens in America, it's happening all over the world.
Did David Icke say this like 30 years ago? Wake up, people.
Is there anything people can do to clean their blood or clean their system out with prior vaccinations?
Yeah, so Dr. McCullough formulated an over-the-counter capsule that has nattokinase, bromelain, and thymulin in it. which are very safe, and these are ways of binding spike protein and carrying it out of the body. You can actually see urinary spike protein levels drop after taking these, and they're inexpensive. They're regular over-the-counter, and there are formulations for spike protein detox. You can even Google spike protein detox, and you'll find ones with nattokinase, bromelain, and the thymulin in them. Those are the higher quality spike protein detoxifications.
What is the name and where to buy? Let me search.
It's called Secret Pizza Party. Tomorrow we're gonna pepper. Then you're gonna love this book. Here, Sebastian, look.
Pepperoni.
Guys, it's one of them situations where I can't say too much. Certain words are banned. Certain words are banned from being used, so I gotta tread a bit carefully. This woman's a Hollywood elite, and she's just rubbing our noses in it, putting it right in front of our faces. We know what she's getting at. God bless them poor little children. They don't. And I know there's gonna be a few people in the comments that are confused as well. But, you know, that's where you guys come into play. For those that don't know, hopefully the comment section will enlighten you.
Jennifer Garner, I'm so disappointed.
Remember they said that 98% of our DNA was junk? That's because they were looking into the helix straight on like this. When you look at it down the top of the helix, we get sacred geometry, alright? This is all your somatic frequencies right here. Alright, so this is your DNA helix from the top looking down. This is all your somatic frequencies, and this is all your church windows. So who else is going to be able to explain how the church had the shape of our DNA 1,500 years before Harvard was even established? That's because this is your DNA operating at different frequencies right here. This article talks about DNA as an electromagnetic fractal cavity resonator, its universal sensing, and fractal antenna behavior. This means that your DNA literally connects you to the Father, alright, through the ether. This is going to be your connection to Christ. Now, this is why when we look at the U.S. patent design for a fractal antenna, we get a cross, okay? And that's where cruciform DNA comes from, because it's all your linear DNA, your two-strand DNA, folds into cruciform stacks. This is your connection to Christ right here. Here it is again, double-stranded DNA with self-complementary sequences can form cruciform structures, okay? This is how these DNA strands fold, and they connect as an antenna through the ether and electromagnetic forces to the Father. That's why all your rose windows are the same shape as your DNA helix from the top down, because they had the structure of the DNA 1,000 years before Harvard was established. So this is a ResearchGate article of the cross-section of DNA from the top. You see all these colors right here, how they blend into resonance like that? That's all these base pairs on the inside of the DNA structure right here, the helix forming a resonance, right? And they produce color charges, and this is the basis and the building blocks of your DNA structure. And they're all going to form together to form sacred geometry. The same shapes that are in all your stained glass windows. Okay, these are all somatic tones. This is all magnetic resonance, okay, through sound waves and light and energy that interacts with our DNA structures. You can see here right at the top, these are all your vowels, okay? The somatic frequencies are all your vowels. This is a church window, all right? Then we have the Aztec, Egyptian, Hindu, and even CERN, because this can be used for the good or the bad. This was in all of our ancient cultures, and this is what CERN reverse engineered. This is your DNA structure right here from the top. That's another somatic window right there. Because your DNA is an antenna, okay? It connects you to Christ. This is why the Catholic Church had the structure of our DNA 1,000 years before Harvard. I'm not even playing, okay? This is the inside of your DNA. These are all atoms right here and color charges interacting together that bond and produce a magnetic resonance. And it creates a resonance, a magnetic field, and this is what powers all your cells and all your cellular functions.
God is so cool.
Ever wondering what your body needs first thing in the morning? It's hydration and mineralization. One of my favorite ways to get minerals, you can use a Celtic salt. I use Baja Gold sea salt because it's got all of the minerals that the body needs, not only to hydrate you, but to mineralize you. And minerals are one of the most overlooked things that we forget every day in our diet. So if you want more tips and tricks like this, Join me for the free 3-day challenge starting February 19th. I'm giving all of it away for free, and I'll be with you every step of the way.
What about coffee right after?
This documentary is so up. It took me a few days to recover from this. This documentary, an Afghan journalist goes to investigate bachi-bazi in Afghanistan. Bachi-bazi literally translates to playing with boys, and this is a form of child and if you love documentaries, make sure to hit follow because I post daily. The most repulsive part of all of this is how out in the open it is and how everyone turns a blind eye to it. This journalist tells these men that he's making a documentary about these practices in Europe and he wants to show how normal
This
it
is
is.
crazy.
He tricks them. It follows the recruitment of an 11-year-old boy and they teach him how to dance for men. After this, he will be sold to wealthy and powerful officials. This journalist ultimately saves this boy's life, but there are some insane things that happen in this. This practice is illegal under Afghan law, but everybody's in on it. They literally go to poor families and they say, hey, could you give me your 10-year-old son? I'll give you money every month. And the parents go, yeah, no questions asked. It's the most fun thing. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.
Yeah, it's called Bachi Boys. You can find it on YouTube. And she's right. It's so messed up.
The worst thing I've ever had to do in my life was ask my son to come downstairs and tell him that I'd just found child pornography in the house and ask him whether he'd ever been touched by him.
Oof.
So I was married and I was with my ex-husband for 17 years. So after we split up, I dated a little bit and then I met Pete. My impressions were that he was a gentle giant, just a really beautiful, nature-loving, kind-hearted soul. We saw more and more of each other, and eventually, because we were spending so much time together, we just sort of talked about maybe moving in together. I talked it through with my son, and he was fine with that, and we moved in together. Do you want me to tell you about the day I found what I found? Pete was at work, and I had received a new credit card. And in order to activate the credit card, I had to put it into a card reader. So I went to what was our office. We both used it. And I looked for the card reader. It was normally in the desk drawer, and it wasn't in the desk drawer, which I thought was a bit odd. So I started hunting for this card reader. And there were a couple of boxes and, you know, sort of things in the office, files and all kinds of stuff. And I opened the top of one of the boxes. I noticed that the card reader was in that box too. And I thought, well, that's a really odd place to put it. It's always been in that drawer. Why is it there? Just picked it up and walked out of the office. As I walked out of the office, I looked into the back of it, and there was a small something in where the cards are supposed to go. So I looked closer and thought, it looks like an SD card, the thing that you put into a camera. That's strange. And then suddenly I sort of thought, oh, is he looking at pornography? Oh, God, you know, like you do. So obviously, what actually transpired was not what had even crossed my mind. I took the card out and I just took it into the sitting room, and I put it into the, is it an iPad? Mac, Apple Mac? Something like that. I put it into the side, and a little box popped up. And it was a little boy with doing something with a woman, like a really young little blonde-haired boy. So I took the card out immediately because I was so shocked at what I'd seen. And I sort of sat there, probably like I am now, and I just thought, I obviously just didn't see that right. There must have been something else to that. Maybe it's a joke or something and it morphs into something else. So I sat there for a little while, and then I thought, I've got to put it back in, obviously, because you have to know, don't you? So I put it back in, and lots of titles popped up. And I knew then the titles were just absolutely horrific. I can only remember 2 of them, but I remember just looking down at the titles and thinking, this is just unbelievable.
Your bravery is astounding. God bless you and all the children.
Have you ever heard of the story, the Epic of Gilgamesh? The story was written 2000 BC. The story talks about how he was 2/3 God and 1/3 man. And the claim was that he was 17 feet tall.
Oh man.
and he was this brutal king, like just tyrant. The story goes that he was buried under the Euphrates River.
That's drying up.
Well, here's the thing. In 2003, a archaeologist by the name of Jörg Fassbinder, he was in the Mesopotamia area and doing like the whole LiDAR thing. And what he said is, I have found the tomb of Gilgamesh.
Oh my gosh.
But it's underground, right? So they have to like dig it up. Guess what happened 1 month later?
Earthquake.
The U.S. invades Iraq.
Oh my gosh! No way! Oh man!
This is where it gets crazy.
Yeah.
All the archaeological sites were then stopped in Iraq, so stop digging, you're out of here. But the locals around this encampment, the U.S. encampment, reported that the U.S. military were digging at night, taking things out of the ground and putting them onto trucks and driving them off.
We're villains.
There's actually anime named Gilgamesh released in the early 2000s that is about this, making gods from Gilgamesh DNA.
There's this video, now that you say about dogs, where a lady was on live.
Yeah.
And she said that a skinwalker pretended to be her dog. And it
How?
actually found out in
Like
this video.
looked like her dog?
No, like it pretended. So this is what she did. This lady's on live with like around like 500 people.
Yeah.
Right? And she's saying, oh, this is not my dog, this is not my dog, and I'll prove it, right?
Fuck, how did you?
I don't know, because I guess she just got that sense, like,
Yeah.
there was like an ominous sense about it. So she's like, okay, dog, sit. The dog sits, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, turn around, spin around. The dog spins around. And then she's like, okay, lay down. And then the dog lay down. She says on her live, she's like, everyone, this is not my dog. You know why? Because my dog is new. He doesn't know any of these tricks.
Oh shit, that's
You know what I mean? So she locks herself in the room, and the dog's just looking at her like this, like he's understanding
Yeah,
the
yeah.
shit that she's saying. So she locks the room. She calls the police.
Yeah.
While she's on
On
live.
the dog?
Yeah, on the dog, because she's getting freaked out. This is at
the
night.
fuck?
So she's in her room on the thing. She locks herself in the room. Waits like an hour or so, right? Unlocks the door. The dog kind of like jogs in. He's like going around. He's looking at her.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Fam, the dog goes into the closet, right? And then she grabs her flashlight.
Yeah.
She's like, guys, watch this. Look, why is he going in the closet and just not exiting my room? She puts the flashlight on. You can see a face. So the
No,
skinwalker
that's fucked.
transformed from the dog to an actual
That's
face. I'll show you.
No.
This game-
Noah Scurry, a high school basketball star with top SAT scores and a future that looked unstoppable, was shot and killed last month in Philly. Everyone thought it was just another heartbreaking case of gun violence. But Noah wasn't just a rising athlete, he was also living a double life. Off the court, he went by the name Joker OTV, a masked rapper who was deep in the streets. But yesterday, a shocking truth came out that no one was ready for. It has now been confirmed that Noah Scurry was the shooter who killed YNG Cheese, the son of Philly rap legend Gilly the Kid. Gilly himself has confirmed this news, and honestly, this is beyond tragic. 1 second, Noah was on his way to being a college athlete. The next, he was running the streets, wearing a Joker mask in violent music videos to hide his identity so he wouldn't get kicked off the team. And now, both of them are gone. This is the kind of story that makes you sit back and just ask how. How did a kid with so much talent throw it all away? And how did this all come full circle in the worst way possible? This is Philly's reality right now. May they both rest in peace.
Where did it start? What was the origin of all this? Like, what was the need to write these things down? What purpose did it serve to have these myths and legends and stories? Like, was it just to keep society together, or was it to retell a very important story that was a very unique thing that happened at the dawn of time?
And that's why you see literary comparison of ancient Near Eastern origin stories is like a really interesting thing to do. Because when you look at something like the Enuma Elish, which was the Babylonian creation story, and then you look at something like Genesis chapter 1, there are obvious crossovers with, like I said before, these ancient Near Eastern conventions. But then you can see that the author of Genesis is making these points that are actually rebutting something like the origin stories of the surrounding cultures that largely believe that matter is like eternal and the gods come out of the created world, and that there's this narrative of the battle that takes place where some gods fight against other gods, and the world around us that we see and like human beings are the end result of this battle. And so they would read this on every Babylonian New Year, and one of the main themes was basically that like it's all chance, it's all a random mistake, you were created without purpose and intention because Tiamat gets destroyed, and she's the God that, you know, you come from. And then you read Genesis chapter 1 and it says, in the beginning God creates the heavens and the earth, and he makes it good. And there's this idea that, like, that's countercultural in the idea that the Babylonians did not think that the world was good. And that, like, at the end of every refrain, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, and then it's very good at the end. And that humanity in particular is created in the image of God. Like, that's a very, not just like kings, which a lot of ancient Near Eastern cultures believed that kings were created in the image of God, but that humanity in general is created in the image of God. And this idea of the Imago Dei, that that's why you're different. Like, why are you different from all the animals? Because you're given something that exemplifies a unique quality. And then the ancient Near Eastern cultures that believe that, you know, the planets are gods, and that the sea is a god, and Genesis chapter 1 looks at that, and it kind of subverts the expectations of the day in getting to this ultimate question of, why are we here? What are we supposed to do while we're here, and how do we get out of here? And it says that, no, there's purpose, there's meaning, there's intention, and actually a lot of the things that you worship, it's pretty stupid because God created them.
I love Joe's journey towards God.
This guy, whistleblower, he was a firefighter on one of the lab bases in Antarctica.
Wow.
Basically, he said that's a very elite position because you have keys to every single facility. And he reported on it. He's like, what does that mean? He's like, I don't even know how to explain it to you. But he talked about this technology that they have in Antarctica. It's this communication device that it like defies physics. So like when we talk on the phone or whatever, when we're communicating, it travels in radio waves, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so it has that pattern, communicates by a straight line. So it's like you can talk to someone 1 light year away.
If it's through time and telekinesis, then you could go back in time and talk to yourself just telepathically with saying no words. So your gut feelings could actually be your own advice to yourself.
Well, listen, you're onto something a little bit.
Oh, man.
Because he said this technology, he's like, it's not meant for one thing. It's like they're weaponizing it now.
Oh no.
He said the earthquake that happened in Churchill, New Zealand was caused by this thing in Antarctica.
Boy.
And the guy's like, how do you know? He's like, because I was in the room. And it was their first test of this laser beam thing or whatever.
Of course, they're weaponizing it.
A lot of people wonder why they say in the Appalachians not to go into the woods at night, not to whistle, not to sing, and always make sure you close your windows and you lock your doors, and absolutely never respond to anything that calls your name. So this goes back to an old Native American belief in the area that these mountains were home to spirits and that they would come out and wander during the night. And I've heard 2 stories that will give you an idea as to why you should not do these things at night. So there was a man named Jeff. He lived outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. And he was told about this spot up in the mountains where there was some good mushrooms. But no one would go to this area because they were very superstitious. So Jeff thinks, I'm going to go to this area and get a good haul. And, you know, what do I care? There's no such thing as ghosts. So he goes out, he parks his car, he goes into the woods, and he's hunting for several hours. Starts to notice the sun is going down, it's getting dark. It's time to head back to his vehicle. Now as he's walking through the woods, he all of a sudden hears, Jeff, come here. Come, Jeff. And he hears his name being called. So Jeff knows from legend that if you hear something calling your name, you do not respond. So he just keeps on walking, and all of a sudden, he hears this louder and louder, you know, his name being called. And then he starts hearing screaming coming from deep in the woods. And he hears laughter, and he hears what sounds like people just talking all around him. So he starts walking faster and faster, and he knows the way he came in, but for some reason, it feels like the trees are almost moving, and he is going in the wrong direction now. And finally, he comes out sort of to this open area, and he sees a man standing out in this field, but he's turned around looking in the opposite direction. So Jeff goes up and approaches this guy and says, excuse me, sir, do you know the route back to the highway? And when this man turns around, Jeff realizes that it's himself, and he's all bloody and bruised, and he's just staring back at him. So Jeff runs as fast as he can for several miles, gets in his car, and drives back home. Later that night, he's awoken to hearing voices inside his room calling out to him, Jeff, come back, come. And so Jeff never went back into the woods again, mushroom hunting. And the second story I've heard is there was a couple who decided they were going to live in the Appalachian Mountains for a summer. They find this cabin for rent, and they're surprised at how cheap the price is for 6 months. So they rent this cabin, and they go out there and they bring all their stuff to move in. And this guy in a truck, he meets them out there, and he's very nervous. And he tells them, hey, at night, you're going to want to lock your doors and close the blinds. And then he gets in his truck and he leaves as fast as he can. So this couple is just in awe of how nice this log cabin is and the fact that they got it from, this huge steal. So that night they go into their cabin, they make themselves comfortable. It gets dark, and all of a sudden they hear a thump, thump, thump up on the roof.
Ooh.
And it sounds like something or someone is walking across the roof. And then they hear banging on the side of the house, and they hear these large booms and creaks and sounds coming all around them from outside. It sounds almost like their house is being invaded. Eventually, the sound dies down and daylight comes. The next day, same thing happens, and for several weeks this goes on. So finally, the husband is fed up, and he says, you know what, I'm done. We're taking our home back. We're tired of being harassed. So in the middle of the night, when this sounds start happening again, he goes to the window, he opens the curtains, and then he looks out the window, and standing out behind the window is a woman. And she has this pale, long face and white, gray hair going over her shoulders. And he notices she has solid white eyes, and she's just staring at him. And then she points directly at him, and that's when all hell breaks loose. He starts hearing banging on the roof, banging on the sides of the house. The house feels like almost like an earthquake is happening. And then he shuts the blinds, they run into the bathroom, and they hide for the rest of the night. The next day, they decide, we're through with this, and they leave, never to return again.
I will rebuke them in the name of Jesus.
52-year-old man to realize that he's not going to make it out of his 60s. A big realization. And he flicked a switch, a level of discipline. He goes, dude, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. So we wrote a prescription ketogenic diet. If it's not on here, you can't eat it, Dana. We started balancing hormones, controlling his glycemic index, of using amino acids to bring down his level of homocysteine. And in 10 weeks, he has such a material change. By the end of the 5th month, he was off of every prescription medication he was on. He's down 44 pounds. He's no longer using the CPAP machine. He no longer is pre-diabetic. He no longer has insulin resistance. He no longer has life-threatening levels of triglyceride. In fact, they're normal. His kidney function improved. His liver function improved. His immune system strengthened. He feels like a 35-year-old man again. His skin tone all improved. Blood pressure returned to normal. He's not on any blood pressure medication. And he was like, dude, I had no idea I could feel this good. I feel freaking amazing.
And his life expectancy?
Almost tripled.
How does an average Joe get this kind of help? Average Joe people doesn't have Dana's white money.
Zambia, Congo, Ghana, Uganda, Nigeria, Mali, Guinea-Conakry. Guys, I believe you have a lot of gold. I'm not going to find a seller on TikTok, I understand that. But there's a lot of people who's got connections in the gold business, and a lot of people want to make money. Everyone wants to make a living. If you have connections in these countries, don't have to be these countries, also in Tanzania, we can take gold too. If you have connections, write to me, drop me a message under here saying I have this. I will personally contact you and we'll set up a meeting. If there's any business we get done together, obviously you will get paid out a commission on the deal. But we need to see if 2 procedures match first. So guys, if you want to make money with me, now is the time. Connect me to people you know or your suppliers, and let's close some deals together. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
There you go, folks. If you know any connections, there you go.
The holy city of Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia. Mecca has a Masonic circle, and within the Masonic circle is a square, because you got to do everything on the square, remember. Town Square, you have New York Square, Vatican Square, Red Square. Why? Because this is Masonic. And it goes all the way back into the ancient world, the terms and symbols. In the Middle East, the old Phoenician Canaanite worship of the planet Saturn was the most important god of all the ancient world, was the planet Saturn, and his symbol, six-pointed star. Today we call that the Star of David. There was no Star of David. It's the Star of Saturn. Gotta wake up and understand where this stuff comes from. Because if there is a God in heaven, if there is a divine presence in the universe, then you're going to have to rethink what we believe and where we're going and what the world is all about, because for the last 2,000 years we haven't done too well. All of the things which are going on in this world today, from 9/11, all of the wars in the Middle East, all of this stuff can be traced back to the planet Saturn.
Look at the black cube or square of Saturn, and Mecca will make sense.
Two Sydney nurses are now at the centre of a major investigation after bragging about killing Israeli patients to an Israeli social media influencer. The pair filmed themselves during a late-night shift at Bankstown Hospital, threatening to send Israelis in their care to hell.
How are you, doctors? Wait.
I want you to remember my face.
Okay,
so you
okay.
can understand
Gotcha.
that you will
I have a
die the most
question, though.
disgusting death.
Can I just ask you about your comments?
No comments.
Are you anti-Semitic? Did you kill patients at Bankstown? Why did you make those threats?
The nurses say their comments were a joke. Their bosses have vowed that they will never
Joke.
work for the state's health department again. Now the nurses will be questioned with criminal charges, highly likely.
If this is how they act in public, imagine the discussions around their homes.
Well, I have a story about UFO. I guess this came out pretty
Everyone
recent. The
has
Malaysian
story.
airline that disappeared. Remember that? Wow, it was like 4 years ago or something. They were never able to find it.
Okay.
Supposedly, two satellite, a Chinese satellite and a U.S. satellite, caught video of the plane. Came out recently of like, we have the footage of it before it disappeared.
Now-
And there was these blob things flying like sporadically
Ooh.
around the plane, like encircling it. Like three like orbs. So just like,
Yeah, I've seen
and
that.
then it disappeared.
Flying into another dimension, probably.
Don't know. But then the Malaysian authorities said when it disappeared, the last thing they got on the radar was an unidentified blob around the plane. So it was backed up by the Malaysian authorities. There was an
creepy.
unidentified blob around this plane.
Yeah.
But then it also came out that that plane was carrying secret cargo. All it says is that it weighed as much as a hippo.
Was it a hippo?
Like, just say like it probably weighed.
Just say 2 tons or something.
Yeah.
Like, don't say, I don't know, probably the weight of a hippo.
It's probably just like the translation from Malaysian to. Do you know where public schools buy their food from for lunches?
Cisco. Bali.
From the Department of Defense.
The DOD?
The DOD. It's a total
DOD.
scheme to where Department of Defense, they go out to these food companies and they get the contracts and then they turn around and sell it to the public school systems. They are in complete control over this profit line.
Oh, that's scary.
I think they said that,
I mean,
the school lunches is the only thing that's profitable in public schools.
that would make sense.
It would make sense.
Yeah.
But like hiking up prices and like choice, like the school doesn't have a say in what they can get for lunch. They are totally dependent on the Department of Defense to provide the food.
Interesting.
It's just
Department of
weird.
Defense.
That
It's
is
like
super weird.
Department of Defense controlling the school lunches, I thought was super weird.
Yeah, I guess I'm ignorant to that connection because that doesn't make sense to me.
Just the
Corporations.
man wanting to get some moolah.
Or
The number one killer in the U.S.
but
right
also
now.
any type of freaking chemicals they want.
MK Ultra. Brainwashing.
You know what the K stands for? Kindergarten, middle school, M.
That is concerning actually. What are they doing to the food? I think jail is the same, right? Let me know in the comment.